Hey, Boy Manning here. The Garden Report comes to the NBA Finals. Bobby goes to San Francisco. You know the story. We're back. We're on the ground. A. Blakely is here. Josue Pavone flying in tomorrow morning. And we just concluded Media Day here. Millions of stories heading into this series. Beyond the fact that we love continuing to cover the Celtics here at CLNS Media and Celtics All Access. This is a matchup I think NBA fans have been dreaming of for 5 years now, going back to the tail end of the Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward short era there, where these were the two most stacked rosters in the NBA. Kevin Durant was in Golden State, Kyrie Irving was in Boston. Now these two teams meet without those two players and bring it back to the 2015 Warriors, who were built around a team of players that franchise drafted, developed, meshed, lost together, then finally won together. And the Celtics went through their extended stretch of tough playoff losses, ups, downs, 500 play for 2 seasons, a coaching change similar to Golden State as well, going from Mark Jackson to Steve Kerr. Celtics went from Brad Stevens to Ime Udoka, and now they finally broke through. Beat teams that had edges on them, whether it was the Miami Heat, Milwaukee Bucks who beat them in 2019, similar to the way the Warriors made it past the Spurs and some of those other powerhouse West teams like the Lakers who had ruled that conference for the decade prior. And now these two teams, almost entirely drafted by the teams that they're with now, save for Al Horford and Andrew Wiggins on the Golden State side, 2 guys who came in and enhance what was going on here. They've been incredibly impactful pieces on both sides of this as well. And then younger contributors like Peyton Pritchard and Jordan Poole, who have come along late here. There's just a million similarities between these two teams. Steve Kerr actually brought it up at the tail end of his press conference today, introducing this series. Here's what he had to say about the similarities between the way these two teams were built.
What I see in Boston is a great defensive team, super athletic, a team that has continuity. You know, they've been in the playoffs year after year with the same core. So it's a team that has worked its way to this point in a very natural, organic way. You know, traditionally this is how it's supposed to work in the NBA. If you look at, over the years, you grow a team through the draft, you take your lumps in the playoffs, you climb up, and then you get to the finals. And our team was built somewhat the same way. A couple trips to the playoffs and with some young guys and gain more and more experience and break through. So I think it's what I like is it's two teams that were mostly built with patience and through the draft and player development and continuity. And I think that's good for the sport. So hopefully everybody stays healthy or gets healthy, and we have a hell of a series.
So I love that. That's probably my second favorite storyline coming into this one. The fact that you have Tatum versus Curry, you have Brown versus Klay Thompson, the two duos at the top here, layers of depth and contributors like Robert Williams and Draymond Green, 2 similar roving help defenders who their teams found deep in the drafts. Now, not saying Rob is the historic defender Draymond is, not saying Tatum has reached the historic echelon Steph Curry did. In many ways, this is the Celtics where the Warriors were in 2015, trying to get their first title, break through, introduce themselves to the national scene, even though many people already know this team, this group that's been relevant deep in the postseason before. They just fell a little bit short, and then they finally broke through. Jaylen Brown talked today about keeping faith through those playoff losses, not changing much about what he does, staying persistent, and not getting too low through those low points where they were talking about trading Brown, trading Tatum. I think there's an incredible persistence here, even on the Golden State end, as they reach the tail end of this decade or so run they've been on here. Steph Curry talking today about the discussions that they had about maybe breaking this up, maybe going in a different direction. There were certainly discussions at the trade deadline of whether this team should make some adjustments. They had a hot start, some injuries set in, inconsistent play through the middle portion of the season. And of course, they were out of the playoffs for 2 seasons prior to this. Here's what Curry said was the conversations behind the scenes leading to this finals run after being out for 2 straight seasons, missing Klay Thompson to 2 season-ending injuries, and where it left him as the star of this team in flux.
Early in the year, Draymond shared his concerns that this 2-track approach of veterans coming back and the young guys being brought along might not be the best shot of getting to this point again. Did you share that outlook, or were you on board throughout with the patience and perspective that, the development part was asking?
I think there's always questions and concerns in terms of when you have change and when you're presented with different routes to go. And I shared similar sentiments with Draymond on like options of what could happen last offseason and what we should or shouldn't do. What's missed in his comments is the confidence in what our core is about and who we are and what we can do on the court when we're all together and healthy. And it's pretty impressive that it all has come together the way it has over the course of the season. I think there was even probably a surprise that we started out this season the way we did. I think we were 18-2 at one point, and I don't think we even understood that it would kind of click that quickly. So you ride that momentum, and that obviously carries you through some crazy ups and downs throughout the season with injuries and the revolving door, the rotation and all that. But it also speaks to, I know that's the taboo word, the culture of our organization. Like, it speaks to who we are and what it takes to win at the highest level. And however, the young guys can learn that, and however they have learned that, it's been amazing to watch.
In the end, the Warriors stood pat, Celtics stood pat, improved along the edges of the roster. The teams continued to draft young guys and believe in those young guys. Aaron Nesmith, Peyton Pritchard still here as potential contributors into the future. Same with Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, who you might see in this series for small portions of time, give you a shot, give you a defensive play. Those are roles that those guys have gotten comfortable sneaking into and finding ways to contribute, along with the flux of veteran talent here. A very old Golden State team has younger components. Draymond Green talked about that today hilariously, about how he's looked at as a 55-year-old guy by the younger underbelly of this roster. Celtics hoping to get to that point too. We talked about the layers of depth that the Heat have found and the way Ime Udoka is trying to emulate that alongside Brad Stevens as GM. There's a certain component of that to the Warriors too now. Being bad for 2 straight seasons helps. Having your own picks and selecting them well is a good way to form a team that can win now and win later. And that was my biggest question with the Warriors coming into this postseason run, and at the deadline too, when they could have used some green insurance in a Domantas Sabonis or a Miles Turner. I thought they could trade multiple young guys, including James Wiseman, who didn't end up playing this year at all, and they needed at certain points when that center depth was waning. But they stuck through it, they stood pat, and they want to have that ability to extend this run into a next generation, building the stadium here and being consistent year in and year out, even as Curry, Thompson, Green reach the tail end of their careers. Now, they're not feeling old. They think they have a lot left into the tank, into the future, but they're preparing, and the Celtics are going to have to do that eventually too if they want to return here year after year after year into the future. They're certainly on the younger end, but a guy like Al Horford is 35 years old, 15 years into his career, probably going to be entering free agency next summer after this one coming up. So something to think about for the Boston perspective too. But beyond that, similarities up and down these teams. Celtics trying to add to them by putting another banner up in the 2010s, which the Warriors did 3 times. Well, I guess it's the 2020s now, but from 2010 on, Celtics looking for their first. Warriors have won 3 in the meantime, and they're going to try to put one up, banner 18, in the Garden. Ime Udoka starting practice, pointing up to those banners right up there and reminding the team why they're here, despite what they've accomplished so far. Doesn't matter if they don't get it done here. And many people picking the Warriors coming into this. Who do you got? Let us know in the comments below. Previews and predictions coming on CLNS Media in the next day or so here, and we'll be back at Chase Center for Game 1 between the Celtics and the Warriors. We're brought to you by calm.com/Garden gets you 40% off a premium subscription. That's sleep help, that's meditation, and more. And HelloFresh, hellofresh.com/playoff16. That's 16 free meals delivered to your door, instructions laid out, ingredients prepackaged, and the selection dozens deep, just like the Warriors. Go get it. HelloFresh.com/playoff16. 16 free meals, nothing to lose. Help us out here at the Garden Report while we cover the NBA Finals, and we'll do it all week out here with Josue Pavone and A. Blakely. I'm Bobby Manning. For CLNS Media and Celtics All Access, check out our talk on Draymond Green and Marcus Smart. The similarities there as we head into this series and continue to draw parallels between these two groups.